And I just wanted to ask you, how much sci-fi had played a part in your early life? Were you a sci-fi fan? Was it?
Not really. No. I mean, no, that's not true. There were a lot of very silly ones going around the place. Them, which is what, giant ants, I believe. Because it was all about atomic mutation. It was very big in my youth. I think the ones that I liked really were, I mean, the ones that really got me going were like Kubrick with 2001, and the really intelligent ones that seemed to be talking about things. And I think, what's the one? Well, I remember, what? Klaatu, Berktu, come on.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, that's it. They were quite interesting. They were really good. I wasn't particularly interested in the monster ones. I thought they tended to be silly. But no, I never thought, I find it very odd that people think this is in the science fiction section, because I don't think it's science fiction. At the time, it was more of a documentary, as far as I was concerned, about the world that it seemed we were living in. It was all there. That's when terrorism was really exciting. Not like now; it's tedious. Planes would be hijacked. Everything. The Red Brigade was stealing prime ministers in Italy. It was a great time. IRA was very busy in London, and so it just seemed that was it. And almost all the ideas in there about paying for your incarceration, that was happening in South America. These things were actually happening. And so for me, it was more of a political cartoon, is what it really was.
The film, I think, like Blade Runner, is very influential on films to come. And one of the things, it's the fantastic retro tech look of the piece and the machinery. Can you just talk a little about how you come up with that concept?
Well, it's partly, like it says, I mean, I think at some point it used to say, everywhere or somewhere in the 21st. I was trying to make it in no place at all, neither future nor past, a mixture. And there'd been so many space films, and I didn't want it to look like that. So it was trying to make it retro, so it could be taking place in the 50s, like in popular science magazines, or a week later. It didn't matter. And some of it was just fun, because I remember in the scene where Jonathan is typing and the camera goes around and we see that big screen that is distorting his face. Well, I just didn't have a normal computer or typewriter, so we found an old teletype machine, and it was all sleek, and I said, well, that's kind of boring. Let's take the carapace off and look in there. Oh, now that's getting good. All the guts were showing, and that's interesting. But let's get the smallest television screen we could buy, which was about that big, and let's stick that on there. Of course, you can't read anything on it, so now let's put the big lenticular lens there. So things kind of grew. It wasn't designed in the way that most things are. I wanted things to be, you could argue it was found art in a strange way. Things became organic in that sense, and it constantly shifted. Like originally, the torture chamber was going to be a room about 40 foot square, all white tiles, like in the corridors we're doing. And then in location hunting, we were down at Croydon Power Station, and I'd always wanted to look inside of one of those great cooling towers. And we poked our nose in. I said, hello, this is nice. And so you have a plan, and then you throw the plan out the window, because this is better. This is more of a surprise when you come through all the white tiles, go into this thing, and this amazing space. So I like working that way. So in a sense, it's trying to work with designers who are really fast on their feet, who can play. Ducting was very important.
It's a film with a lot of ducks in, yes.
Yeah, but it was ages trying to get the right size ducting. The first ones came in like this. I said, come on, what are we doing here? Let's get bigger and bigger, and then just drag around, because I just love the idea of all the things that are behind our walls that nobody pays attention to, or under the floors, all the cabling, the plumbing, electronics. Nobody pays attention. We accept those things, and I just thought, let's expose them.
The other thing that is, I suppose, part of the integral part of the design is the costumes, because they really look like 40s going on 70s. There's something strange going on there, which really helps with the look of the piece. Did
Jim come tonight? Did he get here? Oh, Jim Atchison was going to come. Elaine Carew, makeup, is sitting there, right down there. Yeah. And Millie Burns, who did Time Bandits, is there. So And of course, the beginning of the film starts with Mr. Ray Cooper, who's standing back there, who kills the bug, and then sat on me doing the music. The music Michael Kamen did, but Ray was right in the middle of all that, making it happening. So that's how they get made. Lots of people who are really good at their jobs and don't listen to me.
One of the things you touched upon there, just about the fact that the film was really about what was happening at the time. One of the things, it seems to be about the overabundance of middle management that has actually made bureaucracy impossible, and it just doesn't seem to work anymore. Is that how you were feeling?
Totally. No, bureaucracy has always made me crazy. It's people who just follow orders and don't actually, they sort of file their humanity away and just follow orders like good little Nazis, basically. And of course, we've got less bureaucracy now. We cleaned all that out after the people saw Brazil. They realized bureaucracy is a bad thing, so let's get rid of it, And I mean, actually, the last time was, not the last time, but a couple years ago when I was promoting a film in the States, when George Bush was still president, I said I was going to sue him and Dick Cheney for the illegal and unauthorized remake of Brazil. Homeland Security is the Ministry of Information, and if you can't find terrorists, you invent terrorists. If you listen into enough people's conversation, you'll probably find somebody who had a terroristic thought in their head for a moment.
Plus, you've got people within that, like the Ian Richardson character, who seem on the surface to know exactly what they're doing.
Ian was just wonderful. I mean, the energy that went in there. And what is it? I mean, a man just making decisions. It doesn't matter what you say as long as you make a decision. It's kind of like being a film director. That's really what happens too, because everybody is at you all the time. What do you think? What you want? This color green or that that thing, that taller, that what? And so I'm convinced that all you got to do is say yes or no. It doesn't matter, because they'll sort it out later. The main thing is somebody makes a decision and says yes. Then it moves forward, and that's what Ian was about. I mean, it's quite a spectacular performance, I think, his Roy. But I must admit, watching Ian home again, Ian has me in tears. It was an extraordinary performance, because he'd never done anything like that before or after, and he's it just makes me my skin crawl a bit, because he's just sad little creep is what he is.
Yeah, but it is a wonderful performance. I was talking earlier about it when we were saying that he's partly paternal towards Sam, and then just stab him in the back.
Yes, and there was a certain gay quality that might be, you didn't know where he was. He was shifting around. He was a shifty character, and then he couldn't sign, luckily, and so Sam forges it. It's one of the crimes he's accused of later. So it's just, it seemed to me that's the way of dealing, how bureaucracies function, and they get trapped in their own world, and they actually. I mean, to be honest, that was really, I think, the heart of it when it began, was the idea of a ministry as an organism that has to feed on whatever it is and has to keep itself going. So you create the problem so that you can have more people trying to solve the problem.
A self-perpetuating machine.
Indeed. Yeah. I think there's sort of things like that in the world. They happen to be quite organic, with people really being the cogs in the wheel.
Is it something you feel holds as much resonance now?
Well, yeah, I think it's even more so now. I do think bureaucracies have expanded. I just want one party to say, we will get rid of health and safety, and then everybody would vote for them. They would get in. But it doesn't work that way. I mean, and you see, that's what I think. But an organization like Health and Safety or the Homeland Security in America, it metastasizes. It just keeps going. It creates more problems. Oh, kids running around with a teaspoon raised trying to carry a thing. Well, if you got to have an inspection of the street, because there might be something on it. And just these things grow, and they worry me. Corporations now have taken over the job of thinking like bureaucracy, governmental bureaucracies. Everybody's covering their ass the whole time. Corporate speak has just become, it's Orwellian in its non-content, let's put it that way. Makes me crazy. Yeah.
You sort of returned to the subject in part in Zero Theorem. Was that, did you think that you just needed once again to sort of point out that this mania was going on?
No, well, in a sense it was that, because, I mean, Tom Stoppard and I, a few years ago, it's all the same, weeks, years, months, when you reach my age. we've been talking about how would we make Brazil now, and we just didn't know what to do because the world has become so amorphous, so atomized. So where's the focuses now? There's no longer 3 TV channels. There's 200 out there. Everything has lost focus. And when Pat Russian's script came up, I thought, well, maybe this is a way to deal with it. It's about how you disconnect from the world and see if you can live disconnectedly. It was one of the things I was thinking about. It's less, it's a gentler film than Brazil. It's a sweeter film. It's an older man's product. But it keeps getting compared to Brazil, and I don't actually think it is comparable at all. I just think the world has changed, and this is a way of looking at an aspect of where we are now, for better or worse.
You mentioned Tom Stoppard there, and I know that during Brazil, I mean, you had perhaps a volatile relationship, but you never actually, you remained friends, didn't you? It never.
No, it wasn't really volatile. It was not at all. In fact, it was contractual rather than volatile. No, that Tom was contracted to do 3 drafts. And at the end of that, I was still unhappy with certain bits. And then I got my friend Charles McEwen in, and we did a little bit. I mean, Tom did an extraordinary job because I had presented him with 90-some pages of the stuff, and he made the thing really work beautifully. Buttle, Tuttle, Confusion, that's all his. And so many of those great lines and moments in there are all his. I think one of the things Charles and I did was make Jack Lint a nicer person, because Tom, I felt he was just a bit too obviously a bad guy. And I thought, no, he's got to be the nicest guy in the world. And that's why Michael Palin had to come in and do it. And it was really, I must have been watching, I haven't seen it for a long time, but I loved watching my daughter. That little girl in there was my daughter Holly, 4 years old when we did it. And she hated the whole process. So Maggie, my wife who was doing makeup, everybody had to leave the room. And so it was just Maggie and me and Holly in there.
We used Jonathan Pryce, obviously, and Michael Palin, near neighbours. I mean, did you put all your neighbours in the film, and all the family?
No, we'd become neighbours subsequently. I think it was the film, sort of a strange attractor that brought us all together.
And of course, the other character we need to talk about, I guess, is Robert De Niro's role. You know,
Yeah.
It came about, I gather, because you shared a producer with
Arnold Melchion, who had done Once Upon a Time in America and King of Comedy. And he, wily as he was, talked to Bobby, and turned out De Niro was a Python fan, and so he came in and agreed to do it. And the odd thing about it was that, to us, he was this huge superstar. I mean, we were in awe. But I think for him, it was coming into somebody else's film for a short bit, and he was incredibly nervous, and he worked so hard at everything. We had to build mock-ups of the set so he could come and work on it. It was almost like another film was being made where Bobby was starring. It was the Harry Tuttle show. But there's no way one could fault him or criticize, because he was determined to do this really well. But the day when his first day of work is the scene where Jonathan's asleep with his head in the fridge, and bonk, he gets up, bangs it, and stumbles, puts his hand on the garbage disposal, retrieves it, gets the phone, falls to the floor, and then we're going to come around and find the legs of De Niro in his costume with the balaclava helmet on. And it was, I don't know how many takes we did. I think Bobby, he'd been up till at 4 in the morning, we were told later, in his costume. And that kind of nervousness, everything was going wrong. Jonathan would do this very elaborate preamble, bing, bang, bong, bong, bing, crash, boom, and hello, hello. And then you hear, hello, Mr. Lauer, put the phone up and your hands down. Sorry, Terry. Can we do that again? Sorry, Bob. Okay, John, back in the fridge. Okay, here we go. Bing, bang, bong, crash, boom, boom. Mr. Lauer. Lauer. Is that it, Terry? Is it Lauer? Yeah, Lauer. Bob, we can't see your face. Just keep going. No, I better do it again. Okay. and we did it. I don't know how many takes we did. And in the end, it was wonderful. But it was nerves that I think it just threw him. And in the end, I mean, we spent a bit longer with him than was scheduled. But every second of it was worth it. That's all. He's great.
He is. And also, it's sort of that nervous energy seems to translate, doesn't it, into great on-screen energy. You know, he does take a pace up when he's on screen.
He's extraordinary because, you know, we've got the camera there. I'm right next to the camera, and Bob's there doing the lines. And I'm looking at it and say, it's not very good. Yeah, that doesn't seem to work. But we do enough takes. Okay, we've got to move on. And then you look at the rush the next day, and it's fantastic. But it's that incredible ability, skill, mutation that it's just him and the camera. And if you're off about 1 or 2 degrees, you don't see it. Only the camera sees it. It's quite extraordinary.
Just talking about that reminded me of Time Bandits, when I think in the script also you said he removes his helmet to reveal Sean Connery. Someone like Sean Connery, only much cheaper.
What Mike and I had written in the script is the Greek warrior removes his helmet, revealing himself to be Sean Connery or an actor of equal but cheaper stature. and we had no idea that we'd get Sean Connery. That was what was wonderful about it. And he turned up and was brilliant.
And I was thinking with De Niro, did you ever think at any moment, because I don't think he'd done a bit part like that. I know it's a big bit part, but he'd been a leading man at the time. Did you any time think it might tip over the film, might overshadow it?
No, because he's, you know, in and out, man on the move, so he can't over. And he's not that kind of guy. He's quite extraordinary. I mean, I remember walking down the street in Covent Garden one day with Bob. We had lunch, and bumped into Bob Godfrey, the famous animator, and having a little chat with Bob, he's an old friend. And then I talked to him a couple of days later and said, "What did you make of De Niro?" And he said, "What? What? Where was it? De Niro?" I said, "That was the guy standing next to me." And unlike a lot of stars on the street, they somehow attract attention. Bobby just vanished. He just was a guy. He had horn-rimmed glasses. Yeah, so that's the only difference. But he wasn't Bob De Niro. It was quite extraordinary.